I hate the summer, and I don't mean that in the cute
It's kind of hot out here.
kind of way. I mean more in
Man, it is hot out here!
the summer weather has become an environmental hazard humanity has collectively agreed to tolerate because every decision we've made as a species has always been, screw it, let's worry about it later.
Stop global warming?
Every year, the temperature rises to biblical levels and everybody just accepts walking outside in 90 to 7 degree humidity. I'm basically incapacitated for 3 months anytime I decide to go outside while I contemplate whether or not committing public indecency is worth it when I get into any car that's been sitting in the daylight for longer than 10 minutes.
This is unacceptable. I did not sign up for this. When I prayed during the winter months, I asked the Lord to make it warm. I did not say, Lord, please bring the devil from hell and have him sit his ass crack on earth. That's not what I asked for.
And worst of all, the world's most dangerous apex predator makes its seasonal return to feast upon mankind. The very existence was made purely to torment and feast upon the essence of life itself. Yeah, I'm talking about mosquitoes. Little vampires that were personally engineered by Satan to torture us. Either that or God had way too many beers on the 6th day. So naturally, anyone getting emotionally railed by existence, one would start to disassociate and fantasize being in more bearable weather. More specifically, October weather. Season's greetings, viewers of my channel. Today we are talking about Summerween.
Here we are, the Summerween Superstore.
Wait, summer what?
Summerween! The people of this town love Halloween so much they celebrate it twice a year. And wouldn't you know it, it's today!
If you've been on TikTok or Instagram, you've probably seen this type of edit overlaid with that exact audio overlaid with the song West End Girls by the Pet Shop Boys, and sometimes Don't Fear the Reaper by Blue Oyster Cult. And if you haven't, well, congratulations on touching grass. But what actually is Summerween? Well, Summerween originates from the Disney Channel animated series Gravity Falls, created by Alex Hirsch.
In this town, anything is possible. Ghosts, zombies, could be months before we find our first clue.
Who wants to put on some blindfolds and get into my car?
Yay! Wait, what?
The series ran from 2012 to 2016, with 40 episodes spread across its 2 seasons. The show follows twins Dipper and Mabel Pines as they spend their summer break with their grunkle Stan in the series' namesake, Gravity Falls, Oregon, a small town full of monsters, cryptids, and conspiracies. If I had to describe the series, it would be Stranger Things meets the SCP Foundation. And for older viewers, I guess it's like the X-Files meets Twin Peaks. During the series run, it was Disney's most critically acclaimed animated shows, full of ongoing mysteries and world building. You had a fan base at the ready for theorizing about what would happen next or the meaning behind something as inconsequential as a background object or character. Oh, the theories. I mean it when I say you had to be there to understand the amount of theorizing that this show had, especially in between seasons 1 and 2. The series built a massive, obsessive fan base basically overnight.
And Alex had seen this and was passing on, somebody's Tumblr was like, here's the big theory, I think that Stan is a twin brother. And Alex was like, oh, no, we're gonna nip this in the bud. And it was like, all hands on deck. It was a big red alert and everybody came out of their offices. And he's like, okay, here's what we need to do. We need to figure out a counter narrative and we have to get it out there and we're gonna leak it.
Personally, I loved the series as a kid and still do to this day. I still remember watching it during my own summer vacation at my grandparents' house, back when it first aired in 2012. And I had a hyperfixation on cryptozoology at the time, so it basically fed into my delusions of being a paranormal investigator. The series fell into that niche subgenre of children's horror like Courage the Cowardly Dog or Goosebumps. It also served as fuel for early 2010's cryptidcore aesthetic on Tumblr. So how did the show spawn Summerween? Well, if you didn't catch on, the show's premise is predicated on taking place during summer vacation. So how the hell do you have a Halloween episode? And to that I say, come on, it's a kid show, use your imagination. As a workaround, the writers invented an in-universe holiday where
The people of this town love Halloween so much they celebrate it twice a year.
yeah, that the town loves Halloween so much they just do it again in the middle of summer. Summerween was the 12th episode of Gravity Falls, airing October 5th, 2012. The conception of the episode was basically, let's do a Halloween episode, which concept-wise already fit the tone of the show's dark atmosphere.
On Gravity Falls, we start with what we want to do, and then we think of a justification for it later. Here, we wanted to do a Halloween episode, so I just wrote this little intro where he's like, "Wouldn't you know it? It's now. I have a calendar," and then we just say, "Yep, they've got this," because we love Halloween episodes. I love Halloween. The fact that the show takes place in the summer, we're just gonna excuse this.
The episode itself centers around Dipper feeling too old to go trick-or-treating after his crush, Wendy, tells him it's for little kids, which immediately spirals into disaster when the Summerween trickster, the episode's antagonist, puts a candy tax on him, his sister, and his friends. And unless he can get enough candy from trick-or-treating, he will literally devour him, as all heartfelt coming-of-age stories do.
My name is Gorney.
The gang eventually defeat the trickster, learning the truth that he's actually an amalgamation of discarded leftover Summerween candy no one wants, as well as candy corn.
And there's a candy corn in this one.
Well, they can't all be winners, can they?
I repeat, that along with being made out of candy no one wants, he's also made of candy corn.
The worst thing about Halloween is, of course, candy corn.
I cannot overstate how violently candy corn fails at being what it's supposed to be, which is candy. It really is the worst Halloween treat you can get. The core theme of the episode is mostly about enjoying the moments of your youth before you outgrow them, and I guess celebrating evil too.
And celebrate what really matters. Pure evil!
The episode was viewed by 3.478 million people on its premiere night. But before we actually get to Summerween becoming a viral trend, I wanted to mention something I did find. I don't know the best way to segue into this, but while researching this video, I did discover that apparently the term Summerween technically existed online before Gravity Falls. Kinda. Using the Wayback Machine for absolutely no reason other than academic rigor and having too much time on my hands, I did find a site called Summerween, advertising some local event in Park City, Utah going as far back as 2004, maybe 2002. Apparently costumes are required, some events say they had live DJs, a roller disco, and whatever unreal serious sexiness is. I have so many questions and no answers. Most of the pages do have contact information, but I'm not about to cold email a mysterious Utah Halloween organizer from 2004. The last time the page was updated was in 2013, so it's most likely defunct, unless you happen to know more information about this thing. If you do, comment down below. Yeah, I only put this in here because technically it predates the episode by 10 years. There's probably no connection beyond the incredibly straightforward naming convention of combining the words summer and Halloween. Which, to be fair, is not exactly the most creative linguistic invention. Not to insult Alex Hirsch or the writers, obviously Summerween is still substantially better than what a money-hungry corporation would have called it, like Spooky Summerfest or All Summer's Eve. But like I said, the trend of celebrating Summerween didn't take off immediately and was mostly relegated to the Gravity Falls fandom. That is, until the popularization of everybody's favorite Chinese app.
Next Friday, visit the only town that celebrates Halloween.
Here we are, the Summerween Superstore.
Wait, summer what?
Twice a year.
Happy summer
Sup, squirt?
And only in Gravity Falls.
Trick or treat!
Well, aren't you just the cutest?
Will the tricks
Guys?
outweigh the treats?
Brakes, brakes, brakes!
Celebrate Monstober. Knock, knock.
This cackling head's the voice of a generation.
With an all-new Gravity Falls. Next Friday at 9, 8 Central. Part of Monstober Night of Premieres on Disney Channel.
Let's go Summerween hunting. So Summerween is next month and I am really craving a Summerween hunting day.
Summerween didn't really take off until the popularization of TikTok, much like most niche internet concepts that either end up exploding in popularity or becoming incredibly unbearable. Or both. Edits of soda floats, skeletons chilling in pool tubes, carved jack-o'-melons like the ones in the Gravity Falls episode, which, by the way, is a fantastic way to summon every fruit fly and ant colony in a 3-mile radius, especially in the summer heat. People started fully decorating their homes, throwing Summerween parties and spreading the good word of Summerween. You also had an influx of news stations covering what it was.
From watermelon jack-o'-lanterns to poolside skeletons,
it is the perfect weather to go spooky shopping.
The Summerween craze is already kicking off ahead of the 4th of July holiday.
Trick or treat in June. It's called Summerween.
So, how does one exactly celebrate Summerween? Well, pretty much like any other holiday. You pick and choose which parts you actually want to do.
Hey, how do you celebrate Summerween?
I just watch some scary movies.
There's no set rituals or traditions with Summerween. Naturally, you would probably do what they did in the Gravity Falls episode, which is to carve jack-o'-melons and either give candy or dress up to get it, which realistically you can't really do in real life. For one, you'll either get a lot of side-eye glances from people if you decide to dress up, or get the cops called on you if you decide to go up to a stranger's house dressed like Ghostface in the middle of June. Because nothing says holiday spirit like sweating through a polyester Ghostface costume while neighbors debate whether to give you candy or invoke the Second Amendment. Other than the traditional trick-or-treating aspect and the legend of the Summerween trickster, there's not much to actually glean from the holiday within the show's universe. I guess the town has a dedicated Summerween superstore which acts like a pseudo-spirit Halloween. It really is just Halloween in June. Which, by the way, there is some online debate as to when Summerween falls on.
Summerween is when you celebrate Halloween, but in a summer month, so June, July, or August.
Specifically on June 22nd, since technically Summerween falls on the second to last Friday of June.
The actual episode Grunkle Stan clearly shows that Summerween falls on June 22nd.
You always carry that calendar in your pocket?
Yes.
Although some people think it's actually celebrated on the second to last Friday of June. The fandom wiki for the episode also points out that June 22nd falls around the summer solstice, also known as Midsummer St. John's Night or Day, a European holiday historically associated with the supernatural, witches, and trickery, the same themes modern Americans associate with Halloween.
But did you know there is another time of the year where the veil is considered thin? It is during Litha, the summer solstice, in a different way. The veil thins where we can commune with nature spirits, more specifically opening doorways into fairy realms.
This same idea shows up in works like Shakespeare's A Midsummer Night's Dream, where a bunch of people will go into the forest on Midsummer Night and end up getting messed with by fairies. I have absolutely no idea if the placement of Summerween with the summer solstice was done on purpose, at least that I could find. It does make historical sense. If it was just an arbitrary date chosen for the episode, then it weirdly fit the date it landed on. Honestly, I choose to believe it lands on the 22nd. Although, because of how ambiguous the holiday is, and I say holiday with quotes, people have adopted the general idea of it from the episode and taken it as their own. People will either start it at the beginning of summer and choose their own end dates, celebrate it on June the 22nd, celebrate it on the second to last Friday of June, or choose any arbitrary date within the summer months. So, how have people actually started celebrating Summerween when the time comes, other than dedicating 8 hours to editing 10-second aesthetic montages? Well, after watching way too many TikToks on the subject, I did see some reoccurring activities pop up. The most common and obvious one was carving watermelons, which is in line with the Gravity Falls origins. Some people even carve pineapples too, apparently. A lot of the other stuff is just people mashing Halloween and summer together in really creative ways, throwing pool parties but making them spooky, like putting skeletons in pools or just using pool floats that are adjacent to Halloween, putting Halloween decorations around the house with a mixture of summer decorations. Food was another big one. Almost every Summerween TikTok had burgers where the cheese was cut into pumpkin-shaped faces, baking treats that were Halloween-themed, and making ghost or pumpkin-shaped pizzas. For the media that's consumed, you can either be a Summerween purist and watch horror movies that are actually set in the summer, like Friday the 13th, except for these, Jaws, The Lost Boys, Fear Street Part 2, 1978, or It, the original or remake. Or you can choose to watch whatever falls into the Halloween category, like Beetlejuice, Hocus Pocus, or A Nightmare on Elm Street. The exact type of media is really based on what you think is appropriate. If you're one of those people that thinks that Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie, then watch whatever your heart tells you to, I guess. You know what's interesting though? I've yet to actually find a TikTok where anyone recommends watching the original Summerween episode itself. I guess people try to divorce the episode from Summerween as a concept to make it feel like a more realistic holiday, instead of, at the very least, feeling like you're LARPing an episode from a 2012 Disney Channel show.
It's still real to me, damn it!
Some people suggest doing outings, like going to a local fun fair or carnival, going on a ghost tour or a haunted attraction that happens to be open during the summer, or even going to a drive-in. Bonus points if the movie you're watching is something horror-related. Dressing up is also something a few TikToks brought up. You can choose to do a full costume, there's nothing really stopping you other than societal norms, and how much self-worth you have. But I did find one girl say that you could do a casual everyday costume, which would be way more convenient.
So instead of going for this like typical Halloween costume look, you're actually going to dress up, but in more like everyday type of clothing. Like it's a lot more laid back, very like casual, like this kind of vibe.
That same girl also said she does her own tradition of putting candy in different rooms and having her family and friends go room to room trick-or-treating inside the house.
This is the thing that I love roping my family and friends into, is you go from like house to house if you guys live close by and you trick-or-treat, or you go from room to room, everyone's like in the same house, and then you go from room to room and everyone has their own type of like candy that they picked up themselves. And it's just so much fun, like, I don't know.
This tradition isn't one of the ones that I found that kept on reoccurring. I just wanted to point out this specific one, mostly because I thought it was a pretty neat Summerween activity. So, yeah, it's a whole mix of stuff. Some people go really hard with the decorations and themed food. Others just throw in a spooky playlist while they're at the pool. There's no wrong way to do it as long as you're leaning into that Halloween in July energy. Honestly though, Summerween is more like a vibe or aesthetic that people interpret however they want. But like most aesthetics online, Summerween also spawned its own offshoots, like Halfway to Halloween and Slasher Summer.
Okay. What's Summerween? Is that like halfway?
Yeah.
Halfway to Halloween is pretty self-explanatory, landing on April 30th or May 1st. Although I wouldn't call it a holiday, it's more of a yearly reminder for people who want to know when Halloween is getting closer. Slasher Summer, on the other hand, is basically Summerween with more steps, and for picky eaters. Instead of general Halloween vibes, Slasher Summer focuses heavily on aesthetics of 70s and 80s horror films. Summer camps, VHS grain, retro slashers, camp counselors, and weather-appropriate outfits that make you look like you're about to be murdered near a lake. Slasher Summer doesn't really have a date. It's not even considered a holiday unless there happens to be a Friday the 13th that falls within the summer months, but it's more of an aesthetic you either live or theme around your summer vacations. One could easily mistake the two. The main difference between Summerween and Slasher Summer is Summerween is a catch-all for all spooky stuff, while Slasher Summer focuses mainly on the subgenre of slashers that take place in the summer.
They're entirely separate species, like the difference between an elephant and an elephant seal.
The only overlap between all three terms is that they all take place in the summer, but not only did Summerween spawn these terms, it also started its own Asimov cascade, because once you start combining summer and Halloween, people started combining Halloween with other holidays. Don't like plain old summer or Halloween? What about Halloween, Valentine's and Halloween? Easter not spooky enough for you? What about Easterween? Christmas too cheery for you? Try Christmasween or Winterween. Hey, wait a minute, that's just Nightmare Before Christmas.
Do you and your family celebrate Thanksgiving?
Of course we celebrate Thanksgiving, you heard, but we do it a little differently. We take Thanksgiving and we combine it with Halloween and we call it Ween-giving, you heard?
What do you do on Ween-giving?
We put on pilgrim costumes and we go door to door asking for plates, you heard?
That's what they did.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Ween-giving.
All of these originated from TikTok, although none of them are as big as Summerween, since technically they're all bastard children of Summerween, and Summerween is the favorite child of the family. And if you're wondering how you celebrate any of these, you celebrate them like you would normally, except you make them goth as hell.
This is a love story about a passionate baker, a woman with a sweet tooth, and one unique family business. Welcome to Frankenstein's Bakery.
So the paradigm of retailers influencing consumers was flipped backwards when it comes to Summerween products. Summerween became such a big trend that stores like Michael's, Target, Walmart, and Five Below started coming out with their own brand of Summerween merch. Because where there's a trend, there's a way to make money off that trend. Even Lowe's and Home Depot got in on it. In 2025, Home Depot launched their Halloween collection online on August 4th, bringing back the popular 12-foot Skelly for $299. Yeah, this thing.
New Skelly collection. And we've got the whole family here, including the pets. This is 12 feet. Doesn't it seem like it's bigger than 12 feet?
True story, one of my neighbors has a 12-foot Skelly in their yard. They left it up one October and they have not taken it down. I guess once they put it up, they didn't have a place to put it when October ended, so they just left it on their front lawn. Michael's also apparently saw a 2,889% increase in searches for Summerween. Most of what I could find in terms of demographics come from the distant past of 2025, but the trend is clearly being driven by 25 to 34-year-olds. They're the most likely to celebrate this. They also start shopping the earliest and spend the most, averaging around $124 per person. Walmart even rolled out a summer fright section across about 1,000 stores. Don't want unwanted bugs infesting your house from your jack-o'-melons? Walmart has you covered. Target even put out their Halloween items online as early as late May. Other stores like TJ Maxx and HomeGoods started putting out Summerween stuff as well. And because of the state of the economy, especially with tariffs looming,
it's always great to buy early because you never know if that inventory is going to be in stores later on in the summer and into the fall. And you also don't know if the tariffs are going to increase the prices come October.
a lot of people started buying Halloween stuff months in advance. It became a smart workaround, both for shoppers trying to lock in prices and for retailers trying to front-load inventory early. Halloween decorations spending grew 42% over the last 5 years. Retailers saw the Summerween trend exploding, with people using phrases like Code Orange to alert viewers whenever stores put out new spooky decor.
Raccoon in the tub! Code Orange! Code Orange!
And it's all very hyper-consumerist, which is one of the criticisms found with the boom of Summerween apparel and how commercialized it's become.
This is all eventually going to be stuff that will end up either in the thrift store or in the landfill, eventually. These are all items that are not going to be biodegradable. They're made out of plasticky materials, and a lot of it is just kind of like kitschy and cute. And my concern with Summerween is whether or not this is just kind of a viral trend right now that everybody is hopping on, rather than if this trend has longevity.
I mean, we have enough plastic in the ocean as it is. Good God, no wonder the Earth's getting hotter. We're trapped in an endless cycle of buying mountains of useless crap while speedrunning our own extinction. At this point, the planet is actively catching fire. We should have reworked society decades ago.
Right now in Terrell and in Dallas, your heat index is 107. Everyone in McKinney is dead. The temperature, the heat index right now in McKinney is 10,000, what is that, 101,105. It's hot in McKinney.
Most of this stuff is mass-produced seasonal decor for a fake holiday largely celebrated, or at least aesthetically performed, by people on TikTok and Instagram for content. This Summerween trend, keyword being trend, is that it largely dies out after a while. A lot of this stuff probably wouldn't even exist without social media. I mean, how many Halloween decorated towels or candles does one person really need?
How much stuff do you need to be happy?
I don't know. How much stuff is there?
That I think obviously there's like the internet and just the longevity of like a lot of the moments have turned into memes and had kind of a sort of a cultural impact. Apparently Summerween is becoming a... This is okay. So like yeah. So like literally in the last couple of months, people have been sending me this week. New York Times, Summerween being celebrated, originating from the television show Gravity Falls. Like it's becoming a real holiday. Like it was like manifested because we were like, we want to do a Halloween episode, but the show takes place in the summer. How can we contrive a BS reason to have a Halloween episode? We'll call it Summerween, and now it's an actual holiday apparently.
In the end, I guess the question really isn't what Summerween is, but why are we celebrating it now? I think this all started with the Gravity Falls fandom. This was technically their baby until it stopped being strictly for them and was transformed by the greater internet. If there happens to be a fake holiday within your favorite media, of course you're gonna celebrate it, like Festivus or Chrismica. and whatever the hell Leap Day and Rex Manning Day is.
Stupid holiday my father invented. It doesn't exist.
Happy Festivus, Georgie.
Personally, I think a lot of this driving motivation for this trend is just another way to reinforce people's love of the Halloween season. Celebrating your favorite holiday in a completely different season is something people have done in the past, like Christmas in July. I also think some of it is nostalgic escapism. The world sucks now. In the past, specifically Halloween circa 1980s to 1990s, has become something heavily romanticized online. I also think a small portion of it is performative, at least online. How many people are actually putting skeletons in their pools or carving jack-o'-melons versus just posting about it for content? Probably less than social media would make it seem. But regardless, Summerween clearly resonated with people enough to jump from a faux holiday in a cartoon to something people celebrated in real life. And honestly, I think that says more about our modern culture. What it says, I have no idea, but I'm pretty sure it says something. Anyways, my boils and ghouls, that's been my overview of a made-up holiday that was invented in 2012. Comment down below if you actually celebrate Summerween. And remember folks, don't eat your lollipops backwards.
I hate Summerween.
Let's move!